I'm Andy Adams, Director of Judges for the National Cutting Horse Association. I want to welcome you to Judging 101 Hot Topics, where each month we will take a closer look at different topics that are related to the Judges Department. We're here with Lindy Burch today in the Judging 101. We wanted to talk to Lindy. Lindy, first of all, Lindy, we really appreciate you coming and taking the time to do this. Lindy has been a part of the Judges Department for a long time. She was sat on the chair for a long time. She has been instrumental in a lot of the changes in the Judges Department through the years, through experience, through living it, through all the above. And we're here today I wanted Lindy to talk a little bit about how the monitored system came to be, because I know you were a big part of that.
Okay. I have to go back in time quite a bit, but like in the late 70s, early 80s, we've always had the judging system, 60 to 80, Rule 21, tie goes to the runner, score for the rider. If you think it's not a penalty, or if you think it's a penalty, take it. If you kind of, not sure, don't take it. So that was kind of the original premise. But of course, when you start handing out a lot of money, and in those events that change a lifetime for a horse and change a lifetime for a rider many times, and an owner as well, you want to make sure you get it right. So we went through a lot of steps. We had a Judges Rules Committee, I remember that. And again, I'm going back into the late 70s, early 80s, so just a minute ago. And I think all the judges most of the people on the Judges Rules Committee were judges, although some were not. Yeah. Some were just top showmen, top trainers, influentials. But everybody went and had the idea, let's try to make it better. Let's evolve, let's make it better. What does the judges system need to do? Well, one of the things was, a lot of the judges that were judging at that time hadn't showed in a long time. Maybe they hadn't showed in the big events in a long time, the limited age events. And I guess the thought process at that time, certainly not now, but at that time was, if we had a group of people that could come in and talk to those judges and review some runs and kind of show them where horses should have marked more or horses should have marked less, and we had these experts, quote unquote, experts able to say that, and then have enough of them so there wouldn't be a bias. There wouldn't be, well, it's just Lindy telling you this. Well, she's biased against so-and-so, or Bill Freeman. So somehow we came up with a group of 5 or 6 people at the aged event that were willing to go into the judges' room, watch the videos, and have a discussion with the judges whether they how they were marked.
Right.
I can tell you that didn't go over great with a lot of people. And although best intentions were there, I think from everybody, the judges, the chairman of the committee, which probably was me. I was chairman for 12 or 14 years, they told me, at that time. But we were at least making an effort to try to make it better. But it came with a lot of, the people that weren't on that little committee that went in there, and I don't remember all of them, but it was Bill Freeman, I think Terry Riddle, Mike Mary, myself, maybe Gary Belenfant, but they were like the top kind of riders at that time.
Right.
And but there was, so many people that weren't on the committee that were competing. There was a lot of controversy, and probably the most vocal person that spoke up was Mr. Pat Patterson. And there was general membership meeting right over here, again, probably 81, 82, somewhere in there, that where he spoke very vehemently against that. And Zach Wood was still here, and although he had agreed to do it in the first place, everybody agreed to do it. We discontinued that. But there still, on the arena floor, was the thought process that, if you could review somehow the runs in some way and make it more fair for the cutter. These runs happen so quick, and you miss something, a nuance here or something here, or when that hand comes off the horn to signify a quit. A lot of times judges would get off the stands and say, God, I wish I had another look at that, because I'm just really not sure. So the feeling at the time was, if you're not sure, don't take the penalty.
Right.
But still, people kind of thought if there was just a way we could do that. So, again, probably around 81-ish, 80, 81, 82, some of us got together. I was living out in California, so I think I was president of Pacific Coast, maybe, or just going into being president of Pacific Coast at the time. I remember at my kitchen table was Bill Freeman, Denny Dunn, who was really involved, trying to figure out a way to make judging better, myself, and there was probably a couple more people there, I can't remember, and that was in Clements, California, during one of our big events out there. So we came up bare bones, and Denny was so helpful because of his background in athletics. He looked at review systems and talked to some people in those organizations that gave him some ideas. So we started writing up a kind of a bare bones program where a judge could review a run, and in there we said it had to be a major penalty. So a discrepancy with like a switch or a hot quit or a horse quitting, something major, not a single point penalty. And it would be up to the judge whether they wanted to change it or not after they reviewed it. So if everybody took the penalty, there was no review. If there was a discrepancy, then it would be reviewed. And I think from there, and maybe from there it evolved to, if the monitor thought the penalty was there, the people that didn't take the penalty looked at it. I think that was kind of like a year after, so we could shorten the review time, and then the judge's monitor would have more influence on if the penalty was there or not. So that person looked at the run first.
Correct.
So we wanted to put it into action after we wrote it up, and Pacific Coast gave us, the board gave us permission to try it out there.
Yeah.
So we tried it out at a couple events, Turity and probably our derby out there. We tried it, and it was a little rough at first, but all the judges loved it. They loved being able, because I think, at the end of the day, every judge that judges wants to get it right. Nobody's after anybody, and nobody's trying to overmark anybody or undermark anybody. It's just how you see it. It's human nature. But they want to get it right. So if they had a second chance to get it, we thought it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
Now I'll tell you that so then. We tried it for about a year out at Pacific Coast, and now we wanted to take it to NCHA because the laboratory was Pacific Coast. We thought we had it honed to a good process, and we got on the agenda for one of the meetings of NCHA, the executive committee, and Sam Wilson was president. I do remember that. If he wasn't the president, he was the loudest person in the meeting. That way. And I think it was in Amarillo. Anyway, I got Denny done and a couple others, and I've slept since then, so I don't remember exactly who was sitting there. But I do remember we got there at 9 o'clock when we were supposed to get there, and they made us sit out in the hall on the floor, carpeted floor, for about 2 hours. Because I think they were sending a little message to us that, you know, this girl from Civic Coast isn't going to run NCHA, which nobody was trying to run NCHA. We were just bringing this program.
Trying to make it better.
Trying to make it better.
Yeah.
And so he finally let us in there, or they let us in there. And there were a lot of us. I never seen a table full of guys. Of course, there was no women in there at that time, that had more of a stone face reaction to us walking in that door. And I think Chubby Turner probably was with me too, because I think he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, you go ahead and speak first and we'll just back up here. So we presented it, and they, you know, didn't discuss it in front of us, hemmed and hawed, and asked a few questions, and I thought it went over pretty good, except couldn't read the room. And we left. But Zach called me not long after that, Zach Wood, and he said, hey, he said, you've done great work, it's good, we're going to try it.
Oh man, that's so amazing.
So,
because change is hard.
Change is hard, and in that room, I can't tell you who was on that committee, but like I was scared of every one of them. I mean, every one of them. And I thought, hopefully they're going to let us leave, you know, because I don't think it's going to go over too good. I just want to leave, get back on the plane and head back to California. And then, you know, one of my best, greatest friends was Larry Reeder, and he was very skeptical of this. And I, you know, talked to Buster and Larry and, you know, a lot of people about it. And they were a little suspicious of the judges at that time, you know, more so than now. I mean, we've evolved and come so far. It's and I applaud you for trying to get some of this history in, because I don't think the people of today really understand where we started and how we got here.
Well, I believe, and it's just a human nature. There's a lot of guys and gals that are cutting now that cutting started the day they started.
Right.
They don't really recognize that it actually has been happening for a long time.
For a while.
And there's been a lot of changes, and a lot of people have fought really hard for equality and doing the right thing and getting the money in the right hands. And that's really why I wanted to talk to you, because you have been instrumental in that for a long time.
Well, you know, and Zach said and I was such a big fan of Zach's, like many of us, but he said, Lindy, he says, what do you think is the most important thing in cutting? And I first thing I thought of course, is my open horse, but then I didn't say anything, and I said, well, I think the most important thing is getting the money in the right hands. And he said, absolutely. He said the judging is the most important part of cutting. He says we can get away with the ground and the cows and the venue and all the other things, but if we don't have our judges right, that's the most critical point. And I really believe that. But just a short story. So I think we tried it first, or one of the very first events I'm remembering was Abilene. We had some cutting in Abilene, and I think we tried it there. And or maybe that's when I just got cussed out the most. But I think so I mentioned Larry Reeder is one of my biggest. I'm one of his fans. He was a fan of mine. We got along great, and loved him dearly. And he says to me, I think it was a cutting before Abilene, but we're at Abilene, and I'm holding up the cattle for somebody that's first. And I mean, he came trotting over to me and wore me out. Called me everything, told me I was wrong, told me how dumb I was. And then I said, well, what are you talking about? What happened? And he says, well, they dropped my score. And I said, well, what do you mean they dropped your score? I said, what penalty was it? He said it was a hot quit. I said, well, was it there? He said, I don't know. I said, well, did you watch the video? And he's mad. We're both on horses, like, you know.
Guy's getting ready to ride to the herd.
Yeah, and yeah, poor guy. Everybody had to stop and listen to Larry yell at Lindy. And he says, well, he said, I don't care if it's there or not. I know it's not there. I didn't watch that video. I said, well, Larry, you can't tell me it's not there. You know, you shouldn't be yelling at me about this. You should go look at the video. And he said, well, I will. He come back after the next set and he said, I apologize, I had a hot quit. I said, he says, but you know, if the judge doesn't see it the first time, then I'd just like to keep that score. I said, well, can't work that way. So the next cutting was the futurity. And I mean, he's showing, and he has a questionable something. And he didn't mark too much, but there was an R.
Yeah.
Called an R. So I don't think I helped him that year, or I don't know, he probably fired me after the Justice Monitor system. But he come to me and it was like a 212, and he was hot. He didn't come to me, but he was hot down there. And then Zach announced the results, and it went up to a 19 or something. So then, of course, I made myself real available. I go right over there. I go, Larry, how you doing?
How do you like that monitor
He goes,
system?
woo! He says, I'm doing good. He says, I says, adjust the monitor system all right?
That's
He
awesome.
goes, it was today.
That is awesome.
That is awesome. But anyway, that really happened. So change is hard, like you just said, and that's a big change for everybody to swallow, and for the organization to have the courage to implement it.
Yeah.
That was. It kind of put us on the track, I think, of having at least, seemingly everybody trying to get it right.
Yes. Well, I mean, today, the monitor system and the 5-judge system is across the board by far the best system that I know of. We see it consistently when we have spreads in a run, where judges just valued things differently, or maybe even missed something.
Right.
But the core score comes out to the right score.
Right.
It's absolutely amazing to me that happens. And if you guys hadn't went through that process and that fight and all the controversy, we wouldn't be where we are today. That simple.
Yeah. No, I agree. It took a lot of good people to really, faithfully try to make it better. And like I said, Denny Dunn was really instrumental, and Bill Freeman was too, and Bill didn't agree with every time. When you're showing and you're a competitor, of course, you've got to you got to suck it up and go look at the video, like I told Larry to. And when people do that, it's so great, because they always come back and say, That's when I'm surprised they burnt me that much.
Exactly. I hear that a lot. So because you think about it, when you're on the arena floor, your competitive nature, there's emotions involved.
Right.
There's all these other things that are involved in the idea of what you think you should have marked or somebody else marked.
Right.
And the judge's stand is literally the only place in the building that you can actually have an accurate value, because you focused for 2.5 minutes.
Right.
No emotions. And we're still working on that, being better at it, the best we can be. But it all started back then, and I know the Judges Department is thankful that all those changes have been made through the years, and will continue to be made. We got to keep adjusting as we go.
Right, right. And if I'm a firm believer, if you're not moving forward, you become stagnant. So I think whether it's training a horse or showing, or trying to make the judging better, it has to keep evolving. It has to keep moving forward, and I think that sometimes, again, it's not going to be an easy change.
No, that's not. Never is.
And as you well know that. So change is hard, but But if people give it a chance and really work and genuinely work toward making it better for everybody, it's going to be better for everybody as an individuals too.
Yeah.
And that's what people, I think, really sign up for when they really get into it, is, you know what, we make this better for the organization, it's going to benefit everybody.
Absolutely. We want to continue to strive to be the best we can be, and we will continue to look in the past to change and develop the future. That's what we're here to do.
It's great, and I think, as you pointed out earlier, it's great for the newer people, and I say newer, in the last 10, 15, 20 years, that are involved in cutting, to know the history.
Yeah.
It'll only give them a stronger platform to stand on.
Yeah.
To go forward. And the next step, of course, to me was the casebook, and Bill Riddle gets 100% of the credit for that.
Yeah.
And he did a fabulous job, and that helped so much. Again, just helped the entire judges program.
Yep, he's on the list to be interviewed for
Good,
sure
good.
about the casebook.
That's
Yeah.
great. Well, he did a great job there.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lindy.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that's the end of Judging 101 for today. Thank you.